Think you know the whole story? Turns out you were probably taught the half-truth. Welcome to Half-Truths. Close your eyes for a moment and picture it. You're in middle school. It's a quiet afternoon in the library. The only sounds are the gentle rustle of turning pages and the low hum of the fluorescent lights. You're trying to focus on a history textbook, but your fingers are restless. You stretch your hands out over the table, interlace your fingers, push your palms forward, and then a cascade of pops, cracks, and snaps echoes through the silence. Heads snap up. The librarian glares over her spectacles, and from your friend beside you, or maybe your own parent's voice echoing in your memory, comes the inevitable, ominous warning. You shouldn't do that. You're going to get arthritis. It's a phrase we've all heard, a fact we've all accepted. It's one of those foundational pieces of health advice, right up there with don't swim after you eat, and an apple a day keeps the doctor away. The logic feels sound, almost intuitive. That grating, cracking sound feels destructive. It sounds like tiny bones grinding against each other, like you're wearing down the delicate machinery of your hands. With every single pop, we imagine our joints as smooth, perfect hinges, and that cracking sound is the horrifying audio evidence of us willfully breaking them. The image it conjures is of a future filled with gnarled, swollen knuckles and aching hands, all because of a simple, thoughtless habit. But what if that story, the one repeated in every school library and family dinner table, isn't the whole story? What if that grim warning, passed down through generations like a sacred truth, is built on a foundation of, well, nothing? What if the sound that makes everyone around you cringe has absolutely nothing to do with the health of your joints? Today, we're pulling on that thread. We're dissecting one of the most common medical myths of all time, the half-truth that cracking your knuckles will give you arthritis. Let's first spend some time with the story we all know. It's a simple narrative, and its power lies in that simplicity. The hero of this story is caution, and the villain is the repetitive, grating habit of knuckle cracking. The plot is a straight line from cause to effect. Cause, you crack your knuckles. Effect, your joints wear out, the cartilage thins, and you develop osteoarthritis, a painful, degenerative joint disease. It's a compelling tale because it makes a certain kind of mechanical sense. If you keep bending a paperclip back and forth, it will eventually weaken and break. If you keep revving a car engine into the red, it will eventually wear out. Our bodies, we're told, are no different. They are machines, and repeated stress causes damage. This story is also bolstered by the sound itself. It's not a gentle click. It can be a loud, jarring pop. It sounds like something breaking. When we hear it, our brains instinctively search for a cause, and the most obvious one is friction and impact. Bones on bones. The very name, osteoarthritis, means inflammation of the bone and joint. It's a disease characterized by the breakdown of cartilage, the smooth protective tissue that cushions the ends of our bones. So when we hear a sound coming from our joints, our brains connect the dots. Sound equals friction, friction equals cartilage damage, and cartilage damage equals arthritis. It's a clean, easy-to-understand equation of bodily harm. The persistence of this myth is also a testament to the power of parental wisdom. It's often used as a tool for social correction. Let's be honest, the sound of someone cracking their knuckles can be incredibly annoying. It's disruptive in a quiet room and can be grating to many people's ears. What's the easiest way for a parent or a teacher to make a child stop an annoying habit? Not by saying, "That sound bothers me," but by warning them of dire personal consequences. Stop making that face or it'll freeze that way. Stop slouching or you'll grow a hunchback. And, of course, stop cracking your knuckles or you'll get arthritis. It's a form of well-intentioned folk medicine, a behavioral deterrent packaged as a health warning. It's simple, it's scary, and it's effective, and so we carry it with us, repeating it to our own children, cementing its place in our collective consciousness. The problem is, when you start to pull on the thread of this simple, compelling story, it unravels with surprising speed. The first clue that something isn't quite right is the experience itself. If cracking your knuckles were truly the act of grinding bones together and shredding cartilage, it should hurt. It should cause immediate inflammation, pain, and swelling. Yet for the vast majority of people, it does the opposite. It can feel like a release of tension. There's no pain, no discomfort. In fact, many people report a feeling of increased mobility or satisfaction in the joint immediately after. That's a significant piece of contradictory evidence, hiding in plain sight. Another inconsistency is the refractory period. After you crack a knuckle, you can't immediately crack it again. You have to wait, usually about 15 to 20 minutes, before the joint is reloaded and ready to be popped once more. If the sound were caused by bones grinding or cartilage catching, you should be able to do it over and over again, like clicking a pen. The existence of this waiting period suggests that a physical or chemical process is happening, one that needs time to reset. This doesn't fit the simple model of mechanical wear and tear at all. It points to something more complex happening inside the joint capsule. This is where our investigation truly begins, and it leads us to a man who became the central figure in debunking this myth, not through a massive multi-million-dollar study, but through a quiet, lifelong commitment to curiosity. His name was Dr. Donald Unger. As a child, Dr. Unger was, like many of us, inundated with warnings about his knuckle-cracking habit. His mother, his aunts, his grandmother, they all told him he was destined for a future of arthritic hands. But Unger, being of a scientific mind even then, was skeptical. He decided to turn his own body into a long-term experiment. The setup was beautifully simple. For more than 60 years, Dr. Unger committed to a strict regimen. Every single day, he would deliberately crack the knuckles of his left hand at least twice. He was diligent, systematic, and thorough. And just as diligently, he kept his right hand as the perfect control group. He never, not once, cracked the knuckles of his right hand. For 6 decades, his left hand popped and cracked, while his right hand remained quiet. This was his life's secret experiment. Year after year, decade after decade, he continued. He became a doctor, had a career, raised a family, all while quietly gathering data, one hand at a time. Finally, after a lifetime of cracking, he published his results. He examined both of his hands for any sign of arthritis. He compared the joints, the mobility, the presence of pain. The conclusion, there was absolutely no difference between his two hands. No arthritis in the left hand that had been cracked tens of thousands of times, and no arthritis in the right hand that had been left alone. His simple, elegant, and incredibly patient experiment provided a powerful piece of evidence against the age-old myth. For his efforts, he was awarded the 2009 IG Nobel Prize in Medicine, an award that celebrates achievements that first make people laugh and then make them think. Dr. Unger's work was a perfect embodiment of that spirit. Dr. Unger's personal study was compelling, but to truly understand why he got those results, we need to look inside the joint itself. What is actually making that famous popping sound? The answer lies not in bones, but in bubbles. Our knuckles and many other joints, like our knees and elbows, are what's known as synovial joints. This means the ends of the bones are covered in smooth cartilage and are enclosed in a small, tough container called the joint capsule. This capsule is filled with a thick, slippery liquid called synovial fluid. Think of it as the body's own natural lubricant and shock absorber, like the oil in an engine. It's what allows our joints to move smoothly and without friction. Dissolved within this synovial fluid are various gases, primarily carbon dioxide, nitrogen, and oxygen. They're just floating around in the liquid, invisible to the naked eye. When you stretch or bend your finger to crack your knuckle, you are pulling the joint apart. This action increases the volume within the joint capsule. According to the laws of physics, when you increase the volume of a space, the pressure inside it drops. This sudden drop in pressure allows the gases that were dissolved in the synovial fluid to rapidly come out of solution and form a bubble or a cavity. This process is known as tribonucleation. The sound you hear, that satisfying pop, is not the sound of the bubble forming. It's the sound of the bubble rapidly collapsing on itself as the pressure equalizes. Imagine opening a can of soda. The liquid is under high pressure and the carbon dioxide is dissolved within it. When you pop the tab, you release the pressure. The gas immediately comes out of solution, forming all the bubbles and fizz you see. The pop of a knuckle is a similar process, just on a much smaller, more contained scale. It's a tiny, harmless cavitation event, and that refractory period, the 20-minute wait before you can crack the same knuckle again, that's simply the time it takes for the gases to slowly dissolve back into the synovial fluid, ready for the pressure to be dropped once more. The sound has nothing to do with bones grinding, cartilage tearing, or any kind of damage. It's simply the physics of fluid dynamics at work in your own hands. With this new understanding, the work of Dr. Unger makes perfect sense. He wasn't grinding his left hand into arthritic dust. He was simply collapsing gas bubbles over and over again. But a single, albeit brilliant, self-experiment isn't enough for the scientific community. To truly put a myth to rest, you need larger, more controlled studies. And over the years, that's exactly what researchers have done. Multiple studies have been published in reputable medical journals, all trying to answer the same question. In one notable study from 1990, published in the Annals of the Rheumatic Diseases, researchers surveyed 300 elderly patients. They carefully documented who had been a habitual knuckle cracker and who hadn't. Then they x-rayed their hands and assessed them for osteoarthritis. The result, there was no increased prevalence of arthritis in the knuckle crackers. In fact, the study did find two things associated with the habit: a statistically insignificant trend toward lower grip strength and a higher likelihood of hand swelling. But critically, there was no link to the debilitating arthritis that the myth promises. Another, more recent study published in the Journal of the American Board of Family Medicine in 2011 came to a similar conclusion. Researchers looked at the x-rays of over 200 people, comparing the hands of those who cracked their knuckles with those who didn't. Once again, they found no evidence that the habit led to a higher incidence of hand osteoarthritis. Study after study has replicated these findings. The scientific consensus is now crystal clear. Cracking your knuckles does not cause arthritis. The scary story we were all told is, at its core, a fiction. It's a ghost story about our own bodies, designed to scare us away from a harmless and, for many, a satisfying habit. So, we have a myth born of misunderstanding and a reality rooted in the physics of fluid pressure. We journeyed from a simple, intuitive, but incorrect idea, that a scary sound must equal damage, to a much more elegant and complex truth involving synovial fluid, dissolved gases, and pressure changes. The story we were told was a cautionary tale about breaking our bodies through a bad habit. The real story is a fascinating glimpse into the intricate mechanics of how our bodies work. A world where the laws of physics play out in the tiny spaces between our bones. Why then does correcting this specific half-truth matter? It's not just about giving knuckle crackers peace of mind. It's about understanding the process by which misinformation becomes common knowledge. The knuckle cracking myth is a perfect case study. It has all the right ingredients. It's simple to understand. It offers a clear cause and a scary effect. It's reinforced by authority figures like parents and teachers. And it has a sensory component, the sound, that seems to confirm the danger. It's a story that's so plausible, so intuitively correct, that we rarely stop to question it. We accept it as fact because it feels true. This little myth about our hands teaches us a much larger lesson about our minds. It shows us how easily we can be convinced by narratives that lack evidence. It demonstrates that common sense is not always a reliable guide to scientific truth. The world is often more complex and less intuitive than we imagine. A sound that seems violent can be the result of a gentle and harmless process. An action that feels like it should be causing damage can be completely benign. This story reminds us of the importance of curiosity, of asking why, even about the things we've been told our entire lives. It's about the value of looking past the surface-level story to find the underlying mechanism. The fear of arthritis was a powerful story, but the truth about tribonucleation is a far more interesting one. It replaces a vague fear with a concrete understanding. It swaps a myth for a marvel of biomechanics. We lose a baseless warning, but we gain a deeper appreciation for the elegant and sometimes strange ways our bodies function. The narrative of knuckle cracking causing arthritis is a compelling fiction. The reality of collapsing gas bubbles in synovial fluid is a fascinating truth. And understanding the difference between the two is a reminder that the world isn't always as it seems or as it sounds. The loudest noise in the room isn't always the one causing damage. Sometimes it's just a bubble bursting. Now you know the real story. What other half-truths are still out there? If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a comment, and join us next time. Until then, stay curious.